Lesson 1. B. Sohan lives in a village in the southwest part of Bangladesh. Last night he could not sleep. His sister had her SSC exam next morning. She could not read either. There was load shedding. The summer night being muggy and hot, life became hell without electricity. Most of their area remained dark for hours due to power shortage in May-June. Temperature shoots up to 40 degrees Celsius. With almost 90% of humidity in the atmosphere, it becomes all wet, damp and sticky. When you are busy fanning yourself all the time, how can you concentrate on studies? In the night it is impossible to sit down to study with a candle light or table lamp or hurricane lamp or a rural kerosene lamp. People simply come out of houses almost bare-bodied and sit in the open places. Some splash cold water on their faces. Fans remain unmoving, electric bulbs are off and it is dark everywhere. It is simply unbearable. What is the reason of frequent load shedding? Press reports say there is a shortage in electricity production. According to the Power Development Authorities, the demand for electricity a few years ago was more than 6,000 megawatts a day while the supply remained around 4,200 megawatts. In the rural areas, the Rural Electrification Board (REB) could supply barely half of the total demand, which was around 2,400 megawatts per day. In the capital city, the demand stood at around 1,400 megawatts while the supply amounted to 650 megawatts. As a result, load shedding is unavoidable for the time being. But situation is improving very fast. Lesson 2. B. In a speech at the 90th Science Congress, internationally acknowledged scientist and former Indian President Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam mentioned a very important aspect of mankind's future energy crisis. He pointed out that the era of wood and biomass has almost come to an end. The age of oil and natural gas would soon be over within the next few decades. Massive burning of world's coal reserves may lead to a worldwide ecological disaster because coal burning emits the highest amount of carbon in the atmosphere. Ukraine's former Soviet Union Chernobyl disaster in 1986 has exposed that nuclear energy can be potentially dangerous too. So according to Kalam, the only solution that mankind can look to is the massive use of solar energy in future because it has some advantages over other forms of renewable energies. Now, why has Kalam put so much importance to the issue of energy? The energy sources have always been a major factor of change throughout history. The world's petroleum consumption has increased from 3 billion barrels annually in 1930 to 50 billion barrels annually today. In the next quarter century, the world's population is expected to be about 8 billion, which is 30% higher than today. Developing countries will grow their economics about 2 times faster than industrialized countries. Global economic growth is expected to continue at 3% per year. Consequently, the global demand for energy will grow at about 1.7% per year on an average. It indicates a 50% rise for energy consumption by 2030. If the world's daily petroleum consumption is 220 million barrels now, it will rise to 335 million barrels by that time. The present reserve of hydrocarbon energy resources is limited and it will not be sufficient to meet the future energy challenges of the world. And hence, leading industrial countries have taken initiatives to tap alternative energy sources mainly known as green or renewable energy sources. The bottom line of Kalam's speech indicates the concern of mankind in the 21st century. Lesson 3. B. Countries of the world rely heavily on petroleum, coal and natural gas for their energy sources. There are 2 major types of energy sources, renewable and non-renewable. Hydrocarbon or fossil fuels are non-renewable sources of energy. Reliance on them poses real big problems. First, fossil fuels such as oil, coal, gas etc. are finite energy resources and the world eventually will run out of them. Secondly, they will become too expensive in the coming decades and too damaging for the environment. Thirdly, fossil fuels have direct polluting impacts on Earth's environment causing global warming. In contrast, renewable energy sources such as wind and solar energy are constantly and naturally replenished and never run out. Most renewable energy comes either directly or indirectly from the sun. Sunlight or solar energy can be used for heating and lighting homes, for generating electricity, and for other commercial and industrial uses. The sun's heat drives the wind, and this wind energy can be captured with wind turbines to produce electricity. Then the wind and the sun's heat cause water to evaporate. When the water vapor turns into rain or snow and flows downhill into rivers or streams, its energy can be captured as hydroelectric energy. Along with the rain and snow, sunlight causes plants to grow. Plants produce biomass, which again can be turned into fuels such as firewood, alcohol, etc., identified as bioenergy. Scientists have identified hydrogen as another form of renewable energy source. It is the most abundant element in nature. But it does not exist separately as a gas. It is always combined with other elements, such as with oxygen, to make water. Hydrogen, separated from another element, can be burned as a fuel to produce electricity. Our Earth's interior contains molten lava which gives off extreme heat. This heat inside the Earth produces steam and hot water which can be tapped as geothermal energy to produce electricity for heating homes, etc. Ocean energy comes from several sources. Ocean's force of tide and wave can be used to produce energy. The surface of the ocean gets more heat from the sun than the ocean depths. This temperature difference can be used as energy source too.